A blonde woman stands alone, draped in colourful garments. She sports a relaxed pose. She is looking away without acknowledging us, the voyeur. Sun-drenched blue sky framing her perfectly. A content expression, brown eyes cast towards the heavens with a sense of satisfaction and divine understanding. She is at peace. The woman is Saint Catherine of Alexandria, a saint, a martyr, and a woman. And the subject of Raphael's painting. This piece speaks to us about faith and our interpretations of her sainthood. Some people look at the painting and initially notice the large wooden wheel adorned with small metal decorations at the edges, an ode to the Catherine wheel named after the saint herself. Although the wheel can be representative of the way that Emperor Maxentius planned to torture Catherine for her faith, it can also be seen as a symbol of hope and defiance. The story has many different variations as it's largely passed down through the oral tradition. Either the wheel is struck by lightning or falls apart at Catherine's touch. The wheel becomes a symbol of freedom and hope. In Catherine's mythos, by her faith in God, she is protected by otherworldly power. Catherine is a learned young woman, a scholar and a philosopher. She was brought before a great many scholars and teachers at Maxentius' behest, and she convinced them of Christian tenets through her own learning. In Catholic tradition, Catherine is considered to be patron saint of women, students, and scholars. Soft cornflower blue fabric drapes around Catherine's torso, elegantly disappearing behind a red outer layer that she gathers up with the tips of her fingers. A shade of blue portrayed on many paintings of saints, often reserved for women of great virtue. Saint Catherine is often associated with the Virgin Mary of the Bible. She is also often painted among the Holy Family, as well as her mystic marriage to the baby Jesus. This garment is symbolic of divine protection. We notice the way that it fluidly contours to the shape of her form, following the relaxed, congenial stance. Although the painting cuts off just before her knees, I always imagined her to be stood there barefoot, with pools of red and blue fabric draping over her pale ankles as she stands on the rocks of the landscape. A watery yellow-white light pours into the sky from the upper left of the painting. Rays hit Catherine's face and hair, concocting a golden thread to appear spherical around her head. A delicate halo appears from shell gold paint, marking her to be a saint. This shimmering wire shows us that God is present in this painting even though we cannot see him. We see many traces of his works. 3 streaks of this same shade of shell gold appear from a cluster of clouds in the top left corner of the painting. These lines show God speaking to Catherine. Her upwards gaze follows the lines towards a break in the sky. Her contemplative gaze denotes a prayer or a conversation with God. Watching this one-sided conversation with God brings me a sense of great peace. I feel as though seeing Catherine step into this role of great power as a woman and a scholar, that I too can listen to what the artists of the past had to say just as she was listening to God. Even though people think of Catherine's story as tragic, it also has many symbols of hope. Raphael captures a lightness and tranquility to her on the canvas. Catherine is not looking at us. Her gaze is fixed on the sky, staring at a glowing space opening up above her. If we were to stand exactly where she stands, in the midst of a rural landscape, we would feel the dry grass whip against our ankles, a breeze flowing across our cheeks, and feel a moment of respite leaned against an old abandoned wooden wheel. The walk out to this remote area of field would have been invigorating but warm underneath the weight of many woven garments. The open air would give us some time and space to think about where we find ourselves in society and in this landscape. A small white tuft sticks out of the canvas, standing proudly, bearing seeds near the grey moss and lichen-covered rocks, a dandelion at the end of its life cycle. It appears in the countryside in which Catherine stands, overgrown and hidden. This flower represents the idea of faith. The seeds with a pale umbrella to propel themselves, following the natural ebb and flow of the wind. They implant themselves in the barren earth and blossom into bright yellow flowers. These flowers sprout wherever they land, hardy and extremely difficult to get rid of. The smallest seeds of a dandelion can create a whole new patch, returning year after year. Faith is a lot like that. Be it in yourself like Catherine to be fearless and persistent, or to study like she did, or simply to guide others who need to hear what you have to say. The smallest element of this painting may be the most impactful. Do not underestimate the dandelion.